Willie D Live.
What are your thoughts on what's going on in Ukraine?
I mean, I was born there.
Yeah. Did you leave when you were 5?
About 5, yeah.
Okay. So what are your thoughts about Ukraine? You have aren't your parents Ukrainian and Russian?
Well, at the time it was Russia. It was the USSR.
Okay.
Ukraine was part of that whole conglomerate.
Right.
You know, almost like the United States, right? Imagine if the United States financially fell apart and California became its own country and Texas became its own country and so forth. That's basically what happened to Russia in the early 90s, I think. Late 80s, early 90s, around that time, where a bunch of the countries broke apart and became independent. So at the time that I was born, I was Russian. I was part of the USSR in the state of Ukraine. But after everything fell apart, Ukraine became its own country. So you could say I'm Russian, you could say I'm Ukrainian. It's technically both true.
But there's a lot of Russians still living in Ukraine.
Well, like, what is a Russian exactly? You see what I'm saying? Is it someone from Moscow to the Ukraine? Is it? It's a little fuzzy at this point because now they speak a different language. They speak Ukrainian, which is kind of like Russian, but kind of not.
I think if you're born there, if you were born in that region,
right?
Then
I mean, my parents were born in that region. I was born in that region.
What was the name of the region at the time?
It was Ukraine, which was part of Russia. Just like you could say you were born in Texas.
Yeah,
it was part of, you were born in Texas, but it's part of the USA. So you're from Texas, but you're American.
Right.
So we were from Ukraine, but we were Russian.
Right.
That's how it worked.
Right.
Yeah. But in terms of what's happening now, I mean, it's messed up. It's messed up. It's, me speaking about this prevents me from going back to Russia these days because I'm concerned that as big as my voice is, if I go over there, I could possibly get arrested. You've seen situations like this, like Brittany Griner, who she had a vape pen and ended up in a prison. Yeah. There was a reporter who they said made some comments that was anti-Russian. There was some woman who donated to some Ukrainian fund that was put in jail because she donated like $5 to some Ukrainian charity. So. I remember I did an interview in Variety magazine where I spoke about it, and I have spoken about it multiple times. It makes me weary about going to Russia anytime soon, even though I've been there as a tourist, some years back. I don't think I would do it now because I'd be too worried about getting, locked up.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about people saying that coming on Vlad TV is a trap for criminals? Mm. Because people oftentimes, they tell on themselves when they come on Vlad TV. They talk about their past crimes, and sometimes that stuff is not, what do they call it? The statute of limitation is still open there,
Well, I'm careful when it comes to statute of limitations. You've never heard me talking about an open murder case, except for Keefe D. But Keefe D, before he came on Vlad TV, wrote a book about his open murder case. Yeah. So we spoke before the interview, and I said, "Are you willing to talk about what's in the book?" And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "Okay. You have a book. It's on Amazon. It's not like some little private book. It's on Amazon." So in that case, and he felt like he had immunity because of the proffer agreement and so forth. So, essentially he came in confident that he could speak about it. So I took his word for it. But other than that, you really can't name anybody who has gone on Vlad TV and then that interview from Vlad TV has then put them in prison.
So
that I know of.
So here's my take on that.
Yeah.
So I hear a lot of people saying that, like, Vlad the police, right. Vlad this, and he go there and
Booker T was the latest person to go on that rant.
Is that right?
Yeah, me and Booker T. You know about this whole story?
No.
The whole Booker T. Swerve Strickland situation?
No, that's my boy, man. What?
You want to get into it?
As long as it's not bashing Booker T. If it's bashing him, I don't want to. Oh, that's my dog.
Well, it's not bashing him, but there is some truth behind the story. I mean, I can save the story. It's cool.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't. If it's gonna bash him, I don't want to bash.
Well, it's not bashing, but there was some stuff that was said back and forth.
Yeah.
During the course of this. This interaction.
I got it. I respect that.
Yeah, I respect Booker T as well.
Yeah.
And I can tell you the story, off camera, and you'll kind of get a better idea of what happened.
Yeah. So here's my take on people coming on the show and people saying that, they're snitching on themselves and you getting people locked up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a viral moment. If a motherfucker kills somebody in our community, that motherfucker deserves to get locked up. So I don't give a damn how he get locked up. I don't care what show he go on and what he say to get his ass locked up. He deserves to be fucking locked up. I don't understand that. Like, you go in there, nah, fuck that. Fuck that. Because you can't have it both ways. You can't be disgusted by the lack of love for human life. You cannot act like you care so much about the community when you see people killing their own people. Just like they're in a video game. And then when somebody comes on any show, doesn't matter if it's Vlad or any show, and slips up and says something that can get them locked up for a crime that they committed against their own community. You got a problem with that? I don't. Lock that motherfucker up. Lock his funky ass up. Yeah, keep on coming on Vlad. Keep on coming over here talking. Keep talking your business because Vlad ain't put no gun to nobody's head. Vlad ain't put one gun to one person's head and said, all right, motherfucker, tell us everything you know or I'm going to shoot you right here now, So, nah, I'm not with that, man. I'm not with that. I think it's hypocritical to act like you care about the community and you love the community, but at the same time you protect savages. You protect uncivilized mutts who prey on our community, who prey on our women and our children, and even our men, our young boys, who prey on them and, make their lives difficult. You make it difficult to just, man, in many of our neighborhoods, just walking to the store is an adventure. Okay, I'll be right back. You got to hug tight because you don't know if they're coming back. See, I lived that. So I'm not with that, with protecting people that bring harm to our community. You got people out here killing our sons, killing our daughters, and they come on a show and they say something that incriminates them. Keep talking, motherfucker.
Well, I'll say this, and I'm not going to go into the details because this is your man and so forth, but in the process of the back and forth that was happening between me and Booker T and so forth, I had brought to light there's a guy who is a registered sex offender. And I had posted a picture of him during the course of this back and forth. And the next day, news broke that he was arrested for violating his registered sex offender guidelines by not registering cars and emails and other stuff like that. So he got locked up the next day. So if you want to say I locked people up, I locked up this registered sex offender. I'll stand on that.
Right.
Not from an interview, from a post that I did that started to go viral, and then all the Yahoo and Sports Illustrated started picking up and so forth. But yeah, I'll stand behind that.
Yeah, I don't think most people are going to have a problem with that because
I don't think so
because
either.
I think we want to know where they are. We want to know who lives next. We want to know if we got a sex offender or a serial killer living next door to us.
Right, a registered sex offender at that.
Yeah, we want to know that.
Yeah, and he was arrested for sexual assault of a 12 to 15-year-old. So yeah, like I said in my post, good riddance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you spoken at all to Godfrey or Lord Jamar?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all.
What are your thoughts about ever patching that up?
I think it's possible.
And the reason why I asked that, man, because it's almost like y'all are joined at the hip. When I think about Vlad TV, and I'm talking about from years back, I'm not talking about right now. I'm thinking about, it's like, you know, the people who was there helping build the blocks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very much involved. I mean, and you helped them as much as they help you.
Yeah, no,
right?
I think it was a mutually beneficial relationship with everyone involved. Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, nobody got killed. Nobody got hurt. There were some words spoken. And at the end of the day, words are words. The older I get, the more I realize how little power words really have and how people put too much power in other people's words.
Well, I do agree with the second part of what you said. We put too much power in other people's words. But that first part, words are not just words. Because if you think about this. Think about how many people we're walking on right now who are dead prior to an argument. They were killed. Like, before they were killed, an argument ensued. Mm-hmm. Somewhere down the line, that was an argument.
Yeah.
And maybe that argument, it morphed into a physical conflict, confrontation or whatever. Mm-hmm. But typically, most people who get killed, if you think about everybody that you know who's ever been killed, that was an argument that ensued prior to them being killed.
Right.
And this is why you have to be careful with words, because words can trigger an emotional response.
Correct.
That can get you killed.
No, I understand that. And what I'm saying is I can't control the way my words affect other people, but I can control the way other people's words affect me. And what I realized is that I took, over time, I spent too much energy on other people's words when they were just words. And that was a growth that I had to go through. And you really see this, like, for example, like with Kanye right now. Like, Kanye is really almost trying to prove this point that he could say whatever he wants and people will just have to deal with it and he'll just keep going on with his life. You know, he called his mother a lesbian. He said all types of things about Jews. He said all types of things about black people. He wears a Klan outfit. He has an iced out swastika. He called Jay-Z's kids retarded. Like, you'd be hard pressed to find someone more offensive with their words. I mean, maybe a Charleston White, but Charleston doesn't have a voice like Kanye, right? Kanye is a global phenomenon. So when you see these words that he's saying, and, I remember in the beginning when he first went on his rants, it kind of bothered me, but now it's just sort of like, whatever. He's going to say what he says. I'm going to go have lunch. Whether he said it or not, my lunch is still going to taste the same. And that was just a growth that I had to go through of letting other people's words affect me. Now, I understand that there's repercussions for my words, and I can't, if I say something to you, I can't control your emotions. But with me, I realized I needed to grow up a little bit and not take words quite so seriously and not let myself be triggered with actions and so forth. And you also got to think, when the whole Farrakhan thing occurred, you got to remember where we were as a world. This was 2020.
COVID.
Right when COVID was hitting.
Yeah.
Everyone was triggered. Everyone was stressed out. I don't care who you are. Nobody was in the right state of mind at that point. Am I right?
Right.
The world had shut down. Everyone was wearing masks. Everyone was worried about dying. We all had friends who were dying. DJ K-Slay died. That was my friend. 3 people I interviewed died from COVID. And, I was not in my right state of mind at the time. And I think the world was also very much elevated in terms of being triggered at the time. So, yeah, it's not an excuse of any sort. I stand behind everything I said then, and I stand behind everything I say now. But you got to step back and see what was happening at the time. Everyone, George Floyd was happening right around that same time, right? There was riots, there were murders, there was we all got to see Rodney King, but George Floyd was an actual murder that we saw on camera, as opposed to just a brutal beating. And remember all the riots that were breaking up?
I say it wasn't a quick murder either. It was
a slow, hideous murder.
Yeah.
And the whole world at the time was going crazy, and it was a rough time, man. You didn't know what was going to happen. COVID right now seems like it never happened, but at the time it was a lot. We didn't know what that next year was going to look like. We didn't know whether we were going to be alive that next year. So a lot of things that were happening were very exaggerated, I felt, during that time.
Man, it's crazy that 5 years has passed that fast.
Right.
I didn't realize I hadn't done your show in 5 years. I hadn't realized it had been that long.
Yeah.
You lost your dad what year?
It was right before COVID. It was about maybe, because, he...
Yeah, see, that don't even seem like that long to me.
It was maybe 6 months before COVID, so maybe 5.5 years ago or something like that.
Does it seem like that long to you?
I mean, the older you get, the faster time seems to go.
Yeah.
So not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
You grew up in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Well, I didn't grow up in Springfield.
Or was it California?
Well, okay, so what happened was, around the age of 5, my family moved to America. And the first place they settled in was Springfield, Massachusetts. Okay. Right? And I was there, because I remember going to 3rd grade in California. I think I went to 2nd grade in San Francisco. So like kindergarten, 1st grade, right around that time. So maybe there was a couple years that I lived in Springfield. I remember I lived in the projects early on. And then eventually my family moved into like the bottom level of this old woman's home. And then eventually moved to California. And I think right around 2nd grade is where I started going to school in California. And then my family settled in San Mateo. And that's when I started like going to elementary school and then onward to high school and so forth.
And what was it like growing up in your house? And what kind of kid was you?
I was an only child, and...
You was getting into stuff.
What do you mean?
Were you getting into stuff, a lot of things?
I mean, I got arrested as a kid.
For what?
I had me and 2 friends. There was a mall near our house named Hillsdale Mall. I'm not sure if it's around anymore. But we were out late one night. My family was on vacation during that time. They were out of town. My parents were out of town.
And how old are you?
Maybe 14? About that time? Yeah, about that age, about 14?
Yeah.
Me and 2 friends were riding around on our bikes around Hillsdale Mall after it was closed at night. And we found a way into the mall. One of the side doors was open. So we took like a kryptonite lock. Remember those things? And we locked our bikes together and threw them in the bushes. And we all went into the mall. And there was no security guards around, at least where we were. So we went in, and there was this candy store, and we took like some cases of candy. I remember like the gummy Coke bottles. I remember that was one of the candies that we took. And we took a couple cases of it, and we ran outside with it. And I was by myself, and the 2 other friends said, we're going to go back in and get some more. And I said, well, I'm cool with that. I'm just going to stay outside, right? Y'all on your own. I go to get the locks, and I'd lost the key to the lock that held the bikes together, right? Just, But this is what happens when you're doing crimes, You
always forget something.
You always forget something. Dumb shit happens. So... I'm like, okay, waiting for my friends to come out, and I'm sitting there next to these bikes that are locked together, and the police roll up. And they're like, what are you doing out here? I said, I was just hanging out with my friends, but I lost, we were just hanging out, and I had my bikes, I'd locked my bikes up, but I lost the key. So the police started like running the serial numbers of the bikes to see if they were stolen. They weren't stolen.
The bikes had serial numbers?
Or something. It was something like that. I mean, they were just going through to make sure that these weren't stolen bikes.
Right.
I don't know if it was serial numbers or whether someone had reported bikes stolen. It was something like that, right? Okay, so I'm out here by myself with a police car and these 3 bikes that are clamped together. And the police was like, okay, well, the bikes are cool. Well, let's help you maybe find the key. Now, the candy was stashed nearby, right? So as they're looking for the key...
The other guys come out of the door.
Well, no. The police find the cases of candy.
Okay.
And then they call the mall security, and the 2 guys that went in got caught and arrested already.